like to welcome our new president, Christina Nutter. Would you like to welcome my grandmother, Dee Harrison? Our speaker, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
And tell everybody the subject, because I've just been making it up when they ask me.
Digitizing local history items is what I'll be talking about.
Okay, introduce your officers.
All right, okay. New officers that were elected at the last meeting. Vice President, Miss Jessica Jeter. All right. And Secretary, Miss Patricia Glover. And Treasurer, Mr. Tommy Covington.
Here.
Programs Chairman, Mr. Mark Evans. All right, yeah. I'm still learning everybody's name too, so. And Internet and Technology, Miss Jessica Jeter. How'd you get two?
I wasn't here, so I'm confused.
What is your official position?
What was it? General Flunky.
Vice President? I can tell you how you got two jobs, because when I was Vice President of the band...
1, 2.
When I was Vice President of the Band Boosters Club, they said, would you take the job? And I said, I don't want it. And they said, Vice President don't ever do anything. I said, I'll take it. We gave you a job.
She said she could use the extra money.
All right, but y'all bear with me, and I kind of get used to how everything operates. And as Brother Jerry said, our speaker today is Miss Dee Hare from the Boonville Library, talking about digitizing our history. So I'm just going to turn it over to you.
Okay.
And I'm going to get out of the way.
I have some information that I'm going to leave so that y'all can look at all this later on, because I'm going to be talking about a little bit of technical stuff that's kind of confusing, so that's all written out nice and neatly there for you. The information that I received from a workshop that I attended last year that was presented by the Mississippi Digital Library. And if you're not familiar with that site, it's a nonprofit organization. It is housed at the University of Southern Mississippi. They're not technically affiliated with them as far as funding or anything else. They're an individual, a separate funding agency. But their mission is to host digital materials pertaining to Mississippi's history for free. And so that becomes very important when you have people like your societies or universities or libraries who are trying to digitize materials and make it available for the public's use. Then this Mississippi Digital Library Society will host that on the internet for you for free. Otherwise, if you don't have your own personal website, and then depending on who you pay to host your website, that can all cost money. It's available for membership. Membership is free. It's available to anybody, any museum, local history, public library, university in the state. And the lady who runs that, the coordinator's name is Nicole Lawrence. She says one of her best supporters is another local history society in Mississippi who sends her daily photos and images from their county that they are digitizing and updating. So they will also conduct digitation and metadata, which is the fancy word for all the descriptive elements about your materials. They'll provide training if they have a big enough group. What I would like to see, as I'm talking about all this thing, my interest in this is it does take some equipment to get all this done, especially on a large scale. As a public librarian, I would like to see several of the public libraries around here, you know, possibly Prentice, Tippah, Chishomingo, Alcorn counties, getting together, sharing some of this knowledge, sharing some of the equipment. And I think as a group, we could probably, with libraries and local history societies working together, as a group, we could probably get a lot more done than all of us trying to do this stuff individually. I know our friends in the library for the Boonville Library has some money set aside to kind of work towards this goal, but you know, if everyone can pool their money together, I think there's probably a better way that we could get some of this material out there for the public to use. One of the big issues, now let me start by asking, Mr. Owen said y'all had a scanner, is that correct? or y'all had access to a scanner. One of the big things that you have to think about when you first want to start digitizing items is copyright. That's a big legal issue, so you have to be very careful about the dates of items. They either have to be in the public domain, which I'll talk about, they have to fall under fair use guidelines, or you have to have received written permission from the owner or the creator. And that's another, fancy way of saying whoever took the photograph, whoever wrote the local history or their family history. It's best to have written permission from those authors. If you don't get written permission, say if a person is deceased and, family members clearing out materials, if you can get written permission from whoever donates the materials to you, it's always good to have that on file, just as a backup. I've included on the stuff that I'm leaving for you, the links to both the U.S. government's copyright website and Cornell University, because they have a really good one. Even though fair use covers things that are digitized in the name of scholarship or research, that with anything to do with copyright, it can get pretty tricky. So we haven't yet started doing that. Our main interest in Boonville is starting with local newspapers. So we haven't started trying to unravel the copyright law about that yet. On your stuff that I'm leaving you, which I won't get too much into yet, is how things fall into the public domain. Right now, as of this year, it's anything written by somebody who died before 1944, or works that were unpublished anonymous works by that were done prior to 1894. So all that's, like I said, that's written out. Do you have, is it just a standard flatbed scanner is what you have?
I'm trying to think, what did we purchase? We did purchase a scanner already, didn't we?
Oh, yes, it's
I
not.
was thinking we did.
Jessica's been working with it already, she could tell you exactly what we've got.
No, the only thing I've worked with is the camera.
Yeah, we don't have a scanner.
No, we don't
Okay,
have
we
to
bought
have
camera,
it.
okay, so
The
we're
camera.
working on buying a
Yeah.
scanner.
We're gonna buy a
We're looking
scanner.
at a large
Yeah.
document format scanner.
Okay, all right.
Don't we have the money?
We do, we're just, I'm
That's
gonna
what-
talk about that in a minute.
Well,
You're jumping.
I'm getting there.
But I just
We
didn't
gonna
want
get
her to peek around the corner and say, hey, I gave you all the money on that.
Exactly. Yeah, we're getting to that.
With the camera, that works well with the scanner, to combine the two of those, that's actually the optimal way that they said to do it. With just a standard flatbed scanner, you can do documents and photos and books. Some of those actually go up even to a 12 by 18 size, so that's, a pretty good size. You could do newspapers in sections. If you have a lot of documents that are like just written, standard 8.5 by 11 size sheets of paper, you could even buy a document scanner that automatically feeds through, kind of like a high-speed copy machine, that does really good quality. And also, a lot of those have the OCR, which is optical character recognition. A lot of those have those capabilities, which can come in really, really handy. Some of the terms that you'll need to start thinking about is the spatial resolution, which is just another way to say how big or the size of your images. They're measured in PPI, which is pixels per inch, or DPI, which is dots per inch. And the higher quality that you can photograph and scan, the better image you're gonna get on the screen. So if you see stuff that's fuzzy and blurry, that's because it's the lower dots per inch or pixels per inch quality. In color, even though you don't think of black and white necessarily as a color, if you can scan or take pictures in the grayscale category, you'll get a lot better image resolution, because you can pick up more qualities and definitions. And even like this black and white postcard, if you scan it in grayscale, you'll get a lot more variations instead of just doing black or white. Because if you scan it in black and white, it's just going to pick up the blacks and the whites. So that's one tip to remember, is always use at least the grayscale option. You'll hear 8-bit and 24-bit. That's kind of the standard definition for cameras, and that just refers to the amount of pictures the camera will pick up. If it's an 8-bit, it'll only recognizes 8 colors. If it's a 24-bit, it'll recognize 24 colors. So again, the higher number you can get, the better your quality will be. When you start saving your materials, there's several different ways you can save them. Of course, the DOC is just a standard document, a text document. There's PDFs and PDFs-A, which is the archival version of PDFs. Those are files or documents that can be manipulated, so say you can scan in a text document, and then you can go back and somebody can say, oh, this is misspelled, or oh, this person's not identified correctly, and you can change it. If you get up any higher into JPEGs, you hear that with photographs like those can't be edited or manipulated, so keep that in mind when you're scanning or taking your pictures, is that the JPEGs cannot be later on manipulated. I've included the standards according to the Library of Congress. You know, it depends on how fancy you want to get with your scanning and your documents, whether you want to actually follow those standards. But I have included those on here for you. Most of the scanners and the cameras these days come with a basic editing feature, which is always really helpful to use if you're going to go through the trouble of taking the pictures and doing the scanning. You could use the editing features, which I'll give you a few tips about that here in a minute. If you really want to get fancy with it, you can invest in one of the Microsoft Paint or Photoshop softwares. Those can be expensive, but what you can do with them is greatly improved. For example, if you've got some old photographs that have vinegar syndrome or damage or rips, with those softwares you can digitally repair those. That's not that very hard to do. When you get to the actual scanning part of your machine, for example, say this is the bed of the scanner. If you're going to scan a full sheet like this, you just stick it on there and you tell it to scan, and it's going to scan the whole page. If you have smaller items though, like this image, if you kind of are not really haphazard or not careful about how you put it on the bed of the scanner and say it goes like this, it's going to scan this whole page, and you're going to waste time and you're going to waste file space. It's always best, kind of like in a copy machine, if you stick it up in the upper corner and align it neatly, and then you can use the cropping tools, which are very easy to use with the scanners. Even just basic $50 scanners come with these basic cropping tools. You can crop it in on this image. It's going to just take a few seconds to scan just that little part, and then when you look at it on the screen, instead of you looking at something that looks like that on the screen, or even like this with the white space, you're just going to see the image this size, or big size, large size. So keep that in mind when you start doing your scanning. Like I said, even with basic scanners, you can use some of those manipulation tools to get rid of some of the changes in colors from where the photographs have aged or the paper has aged. Even the basic ones you can do that with. One of the big things to remember is if you get into scanning and taking pictures, is to keep lots and lots of copies in lots and lots of different places. Everybody talks about cloud storage these days, but you can get free cloud storage. Google Drive is one. There's several other free ones out there. Keep a copy in the cloud. Keep a copy on your hard drive. Keep an external hard drive. They're not very expensive. Store that off-site, because that's the other thing you need to remember, is to make sure lots of people have copies of them. Because if you have even if you save your copies to 3 or 4 different locations, but you keep them all in this building, you know, heaven forbid something happens to this building and there's all your materials are all lost anyway. So make sure you keep lots of copies and lots of them off-site. Even burning them to a DVD or a disc is preferable than not having anything, although I have been warned that the quality of those, you're not going to get the good quality as if you could save them to external hard drive or save them to the cloud. You're going to get the best possible quality that way. Of course, as with anything that you do, back up your work very regularly. Make sure nothing is lost. They also recommend that when you're getting into the process of digitation, that you use an Excel spreadsheet to record as much information as you know. If say you've got a photograph and you would want to, if it doesn't have a title, assign it a title, you would put on there, you would make a column for who took the photograph, who donated it to you, the date it was donated, the date it was taken, if you know where it was taken, what it was taken of, the geographical location. They even recommend that you put down the dimensions of the original, and all that data, as much data as you can enter into that spreadsheet. That will just help people down the line. You know, you may look at that and you can say, oh yeah, that's Main Street Ripley, but 20 years from now. And once it goes on the web, people won't know that. So as much information as you can assign to your files and to your scans, the better, the helpful that will be to everybody else. Do you have a website that advertises your historical society?
Yes, we do.
So once you get into this, you can upload those to your website, as well as the Mississippi Digital Library if you choose to go that way. I highly recommend using that Mississippi Digital Library because it will just bring more access to your materials, which would then mean more publicity and more access to your group. One of the things that Mr. Owen had mentioned was that you didn't know what to charge when you started printing out these things for people. I don't know, probably a lot of help there, but just remember you always want to include the cost of your paper. You want to think about the cost of your ink. You want to think about the cost of the electricity it took to run these machines. As you start buying more machines, you need to keep all that in mind as you're determining what to charge people. I feel like we kind of hit just like a lot of the broad points. Does anybody have any questions?
I had a question. When you put these digitized photos and all out there for people, how do you index them? So do they just have to look through all, or what do you do?
That's where getting all that information, it depends on how sophisticated your equipment is, but even I think the basic ones, there would be some kind of search thing. So if you could title a photograph, Miller Homestead circa 1898, Ripley, Mississippi, then somebody that was even doing a basic search for like the Miller family should be able to.
Type in a keyword and it searches through all of the photos
Right.
that you have. Okay.
Right. I don't know for sure. I would assume that the Mississippi Digital Library has a pretty, at least basic, if not better, searchable option like that, where you can search for geographical areas.
So if we send our photos to them, they index it for us.
Right, as long as you give them the information.
Do you have a scanner there at the library?
No, we do not have one yet. That's one of the things we're looking into. What we're, as I mentioned before, what we're really interested in is our local newspaper is not available online in any format. So at first, we were saving up money to buy a microfilm machine that would print, because that's what a lot of people want, is to print out copies of articles in the other newspapers. What we're finding out now is that we think it's going to be more cost effective if we can buy the equipment to digitize those microfilm rolls, and then have somebody like the Mississippi Digital Library publish it to the web, so that you can sit at home at your computer and you can access our newspapers. You don't have to actually be at our library. That's going to take a little bit more sophisticated equipment, but we still think it's going to be cheaper than trying to buy a microfilm machine that can print. Because these days, the old microfilm machines, they don't sell the ones like what we still have in most of the libraries. It's all computer setups and scanners anyway.
Let's say you have a couple of generations of photo albums. And, nobody really sits and looks through these and whatnot. Could you, you recommend digitizing them, put them on the soft floppy, or right now, would you charge per page, or would you scan each picture, or how would you do that?
I would probably recommend scanning each picture, and like I said, if you make sure you use those cropping features, and you can probably do those, fairly quickly if you've had somebody sitting there just doing them one after the other. If you're going to offer that service to the public, I would think maybe kind of an hourly maybe come up with an
Well,
estimate.
see, I
of-
wouldn't want it on hard copy, I'd want it on,
Right, and then,
Well, couldn't you copy the
Burn
whole
to CD.
page and crop them off?
you could do it that way, I'm not sure which one would be faster, but you could try to do it that way.
pictures is faster.
What if
I
we
would
glued in
think
where you
so.
can't get them out?
Well, yeah, that would be a problem. You may be forced to do it that way, too.
Well, if these pictures are on the web or in the clouds where they say,
Mhm.
and people have access to them, couldn't they just print them out? They wouldn't have to go through those with them.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Well, that printout, at least when I've discussed it, is that, there's a place at, in Alabama, Athens, that has their archive. And you send them your name, and they send you a list back of every document and picture on that surname. I'm sure, it's gotta be separated from the original newspaper or the article or something. because, I requested my daughter's in-law's name and got a couple of pages of stuff back.
Right.
And how's that stored?
I'm sure they've got that stored in a very sophisticated database to where it's indexed. Every one of those images would have to be, somebody has written a description that includes that surname, and then when you say, I want everything, for example, about the Millers, then they can just type in Millers, but it's a lot of labor-intensive, expensive database to get you to that point.
Yeah, I don't think it's run by volunteers. They got an archivist there and an associate that works with it.
Right. At our library, of course, we're named for Mr. George Ed Allen, who is a politician, and we have a lot of presidential memorabilia. Last year, his last living relative is gone to a nursing home, so they've cleared out even more of his personal photographs, White House invitations, notes from the presidents. And if our first focus is to help the community by digitizing the newspapers, but if we would have access to this equipment and get this equipment, that's what our next step would be, to move on to preserve some of that.
And that's gonna be your archive?
We would like to get to the point where we had an archive that was more useful. Right now, as it is, our materials for Mr. Allen are kind of haphazardly stored, and there's been times in the past where we've had some theft because there is, presidential signatures and that sort of thing. So,
Besides covering costs, this organization needs to make a little money somehow or another. What could we tell the general public where we could generate some funds? Because, we don't have any fundraisers. Do you have any thoughts in that department?
I would really stress the importance of preserving these materials because, old photographs and old documents, they're just going to crumble and deteriorate if they're not preserved, and the best way to do that is digitally. And I would really stress the importance of, if we don't get this material digitized, it's going to be lost. And future generations won't be able to access it at all. Plus, once you do digitize it, you can put it out there for everybody to use.
One idea that, I think I've seen some other, like county archives or county historical societies do, they put, like the index out there on the internet where it says, hey, we have this record, but if you want a copy of this record, you need to get a hold of us, and for a charge, we'll print it out and send it to you, kind of thing. So, if we are really interested in making this something that generates revenue, then we could kind of put that teaser out there, hey, we have information about your family, but you need to get a hold of us if you want copies of the original documents and all the information.
Well, we have published what we have done, the index that Marcia Lamar had. That index has been published, but it's hard getting them to bite and come and say, hey, will you, we've been doing this 3 months, and I think we've had 5 requests. But it's picking up, but we've just got to find a way to get people interested in it.
In that case, to use the Mississippi Digital Library, you might just put a couple of teaser things out there, maybe a sample of what you've got, and that way, you know, they will, be able to tell, you know, this came from the Tippah County Historical Museum, and we can contact them for more information. You might can use them instead of just hosting everything you've got, just as a, kind of a sample.
Like the guy that got hung for spitting on the sidewalk?
I've got a lot of old black and white pictures from about 1900, family pictures, and I don't know how to preserve them. I don't think my future generations can take care of them.
And, yeah, you
They wouldn't even know who they were.
if you get them scanned in, you know, that'd be a lot easier to store and to take care of, and that could be one of your advertising points too, is you could offer that we can,
Preserve your memories.
we
preserve
can
your
fix mild
history.
damage, cause like I said, with that editing software, it's not very difficult to fix tears.
Have like
Okay,
workshops
so,
done a day
is
and
it-
Well, I've seen where they take a black and white, and made a curve.
Right.
We'll scan it and give you a CD or some other kind of media that you can keep, flash drive, like those are very
They are
expensive.
very cheap and come
Mhm.
with lots of power.
And,
How soon will you be offering this? We have pictures, I mean, we're ready to go.
well, we need to buy a scanner, and we're gonna get to that in a minute. But yeah, I mean, and that's something that we could generate revenue with by, you know, here's how to preserve your memories, let us digitize them for you. Here's your media that has them on it, here's your pictures back,
Yeah.
and maybe a small, you know, little pamphlet or something, because there's a lot of good information you can get on the internet about preserving your actual pictures, acid-free and all of that stuff. So, you know, prevent further damage to your actual pictures, here's a digital copy that's cleaned up, looks pretty,
Yeah.
and in turn, maybe, you're gonna give us the right to store a copy of your pictures for archival purposes.
Yeah.
You know, and that way everybody benefits.
Mhm.
We could do something like that.
I've been well, I'm interested in that because I've been working towards scanning into the computer previous generations of pictures. The problem is, with Alzheimer's in the family, they're not recognizing even their own mom and daddy, so how am I gonna
And
recognize the generations before that, you know?
that's a really good question.
And nobody
Figure that
writes
out, look at that.
names on anything.
You're right.
I mean, I'm guilty of that, but I look through all these pictures and there's not a name anywhere.
I do have names on all these pictures.
I am proud of you. Because I'm ready to strangle every member of my family.
And hey, you know, that's another idea, you know, on the MSGN web, there are a page for, hey, do you know this person? Do you recognize this person? Maybe we could do our little bit of that on
Lost
our own.
photos page.
Yeah, right, maybe we could do a
there's
little
one
bit
of
of
those
that,
on
the ones that
Facebook.
we scan in.
You could use your library too for that, because we've done that. We've, not too long ago, we had, some huge group photos from some of the WPA work camps. And they had, you know, maybe half the people identified, and of course, it's small and it's hard to tell, but if you knew that somebody in your family was at one of those, you could go look and see if they're identified, and, they displayed those for several months at the library and had people come in and look at
We've
it.
got some like that, like Confederate veteran reunions, they have lots of unidentified people in them, what I've seen.
How do you label a picture? What's safe? What'll last forever, or last as long as the picture will? What do you not put on it?
How do you
Yeah, if I wanna.
write on the back of it?
Yes,
They're still saying right now that a 5-point Sharpie, will eventually bleed through.
I believe it.
It's, you know, at first they said that won't bleed through, but then now they're saying that it's, and they're back to just the plain old pencil. It will be the least damaging. And if you make sure it's sharpened and you've got a good quality pencil, that's back to what they're.
what if I make an address label on the computer and stick it on there? Is that a problem?
You could, that's probably would be, I don't think that would be too bad.
That glue might not be too good.
Yeah.
They make the archival pens that have that fade-free ink on
Right,
it, and they make some stuff specially for that you can buy online.
You wanna order a dozen of those?
I got some at home.
You did?
I do. I've been doing my family's pictures.
Do you want to bring them here, or do you want us to send our pictures over to you?
Let's see, I got till February 10th. What, how many do you think you sent me between now and February 10th?
I would tell them when to get the pen.
I think you can get those just,
Yeah, you
Fairly
can get those
easily.
like craft stores, I think.
yeah, in a pinch, you can switch it to pencil.
Yeah, anywhere you can buy the acid-free paper, I would think you could get those.
Surely they'd have something like that at Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. I may have bought those at Hobby Lobby. I don't remember.
One thing you need to be careful about, even writing with a pencil on the back of the photo, if you bear down on it, you're
Yes,
gonna,
that's true.
damage the front of the picture. So it has to be light, you know.
Right.
What about,
Like a mechanical pencil?
colored pictures?
Yeah.
They will eventually fade if they're not,
Yeah, pencil.
not preserved out.
I've
It's
been
better to
using-
do them in color or in the correct gray tone.
I would, for those, I would probably do color scan for those.
Some people may not realize they have a scanner. I have a $60 Kodak printer for my computer, and it photocopies, and it does great scans.
That's what I'm using too.
Yeah, a lot of the basic printers, that you have now are also scanners,
I got fairly decent, whatever you call it, for cropping pictures and things, it comes on Windows. I use it all the time.
Now, I might be showing my ignorance now, but what size scanner, what can you, what's the maximum you can scan? Or do you have a hand scanner?
I'm sure there probably are hand scanners. The maximum flatbed scanners go up to 12 by 18.
12 by 18,
12 by 18, and that's,
that's your hand scanner?
Yeah, but it'll only do 8.5.
You have, does it have to go through that?
No, it will scan on top of it.
So you could do a photo book, just scan each page while taking a photo?
Mhm. Yeah.
What's the quality?
Now, how do you download that from that,
It has a,
a plug-in or
it
something?
has a cord, or it also has a micro SD card.
Uh-huh. So what in the world do you, is that your own personal scanner? When you
It
go
is.
around scanning people, can you scan?
I took this 2 weekends ago to my grandmother's and scanned a photo through the glass.
Huh.
And it was just like, I had took the picture out and
Scan
scanned
it.
it.
Huh.
So,
Well, tell me one other, is it steady when you use it?
if you are putting it on the table and not using your leg,
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
It's expensive.
It was $100. And it also has a little preview screen that showed me, if I can remember how it works. Monthly charge.
Technology is just moving too fast for me.
Now, it'll look kind of distorted because of the screen,
Uh-huh.
but that was through glass, picture frame.
Of course, the man's standing out more, you know,
Yeah.
back in those days, you know, so. Wasn't that handy? Magic wand.
And I scanned one of the, my mother-in-law had a picture of her infant brother who had died at an early age and everything. And it was one of those old-timey photographs that had been sent in and colorized. And I took it out of its frame, and it's every bit of 75 years old, this picture is. And it was, older, I'm sure, because she's almost 90. But, she had, I took it and even with the colorization on it, was able to update the color on the computer, and it looks like a color photo we would take now as opposed to antiquated coloring.
right.
And it has turned out, I was really impressed with how well that turned out, just with the simple
Right.
simple stuff that I had at home, you know.
And like a lot of these, from when I was a kid, they look kind of orangey looking now, and you can really fix those
Yeah.
digitally on the computer and make them
I
look
even
bright.
fixed black and whites that were, that looked fuzzy, the picture itself looked fuzzy, and was able to adjust those tones enough that it looked really crisp.
Now, we have that Lightbox, isn't it Lightbox program? That is like professional photographer that should be able to do wonders. I haven't played with it enough to see.
Yeah, well, this
I
was
mean,
just
it should
basic,
be
this was,
amazing.
yeah, this was just basic HP photo that come on the computer, you know, I mean, I hadn't ordered anything. And like I said, I was really impressed with how well that turned out, just something that simple.
And that's another good way you could raise money is to offer that service of, hey, we
Yeah.
can fix,
If you've
Red
got one of those
pictures or-
pictures that's just saturated with yellow or orange,
Mhm.
do you change it to black and white, or what do you do?
I think so, with this technology, or if you were worried about, you know, you wanna say the way it is for historical preservation, or you wanna do it the other way to make it look nicer for whoever wants it, you could do it both ways, and once you scan it one time, you can scan it a second time. 'Cause with these, like you're saying, that with these new, with this equipment, you can go back and forth, you know, you can add sepia, you can take it away, you can add the colorization, you can take it away, all just really, really easily.
I want to be as pretty as I can in my whole thing. I want to know what works.
Yeah.
Right
There's
now,
no work on-
I go to black and white, because I haven't found anything, you know, at Windows, it would actually adjust the color. I mean, it's either orange or yellow or black and white.
I've got a comment about size of scanners. I don't know whether I'm the only one to know about this or not, but Robert Jackson was able to get on loan, or it automatically came to the courthouse, a scanner that was, I don't know, at least 3 feet wide, and he did some full newspaper pages. He was, I guess, working in the records in the courthouse, and it was on loan from, I guess, the state of Mississippi. Evidently, it's something that travels around, very expensive. He said, you know, it might have been $25,000–$30,000, but it was available, and I bet it still is.
Was that one of those that like sits up and you feed it into it?
Yeah, it
I've
went
seen
up.
those are very expensive.
Yes, but this one, I don't know whether it's been brought back to Tippah County or not, but it's out there somewhere and probably available, you know, through your courthouse or your.
Would that not be what they would use for like the maps?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
That's what that, and the, those, I can't think of the word, but like the you know, the architect drawings and stuff.
There is one in Tippah, matter of fact, one of those now.
Tippah Electric.
I don't know if they share. I gotta ask
Well,
you.
we do know what a key.
I don't own a key.
Yes.
You did, what's that one, that map thing,
Oh, I had to have that done by a print company.
I know.
We got a Google and,
what size was it?
that's interesting.
12 by,
Yeah, I guess so. I don't see anything here that matches it, but,
something like that.
it's like this.
12 by, it's about 12 by 18 or something like that.
And the ones that will scan up to 12 by 18 are not, you know, $300–400. So 12 by 18, even if you want to do something like a newspaper, if you can divide it into sections, you can still get good scan.
And those are really good to do, like your big record books and stuff.
Right.
Does anybody have any more questions? Steve?
Oh, you gonna host a party with all the libraries in Northeast Mississippi?
I want to work on that. I want to work on getting everybody together, all the libraries, all the historical societies, and see if we can do more working together and kind of sharing some of this equipment.
Thank you so much
You're
for coming
welcome.
speaking to us today. Okay, y'all help me out if I missed something. Let's see, who is gonna be our speaker next month? Do we have one?
Still open, I believe.
Still open. Alright, so if anybody knows someone who would like to come speak, please contact Mr. Mark Evans. How about that? That work?
What's that now?
If
I was daydreaming one.
if anybody has any ideas, get a hold of you, right?
Step
Okay.
forward.
Alright. Okay, and let's see, and we have a report about Antioch Cemetery.
Antioch Cemetery.
Okay.
Jerry and Tommy and several others have, what can I say, have done with the cemetery.
Oh, yeah, like, you know, like we identified, I gave a numbered every grave
Yes.
Right.
occupied or unoccupied in the cemetery. And she likes that in Antioch too.
And we met, when was it, last Tuesday, I believe it was, we met with the cemetery, committee at Antioch. And, let them know what we wanted to do up there and do it the same way, number every grade and every, you know, section, road and plot and so forth. And, they're willing to work with us on that. But, we can't get started, I don't think, until springtime.
Right.
So, but anyway, I wanted everybody to know that we are gonna do that this year, if possible at all. But, we gave them a map of the cemetery, and they're gonna look it over, and I think maybe our next meeting ought to be at the cemetery,
I think it should too.
and, see how they want to divide it up into sections, and then we can go to work on doing all of it.
This
That
beautiful
sounds
little
great.
cemetery up here just divides itself by its internal roads into just 8 sections, just like that. And
There's-
in Antioch, they're scattered. And
They are.
they didn't subscribe to that old face and east thing either. I mean, they just put them where they wanted to. And we're not sure how to do this, and there's what, close to 500 graves in there, I
There's
think.
1,000.
1,000.
And they're not sectioned out so much
No.
by dates of burial or anything. There's not really the old part or new part.
No.
They're just all kind of jumbled together.
Yeah, and some of them's not even in a row, they're
Mhm.
just zigzags across the
And
road.
they never die in alphabetical order. I mean,
How dare they?
And that's, I don't know if it's gonna involve the Historical Society or not yet, because we try and get everything, yeah, I could use some help, on the Ripley Cemetery. Let's see, Donna farmed out all of the, Excel, to the high school class, so that's free. It'll all be typed up and put in the form she wants, and then she said she would take her part, at the print company for whatever books we can sell. And she hadn't told us how many that would be, probably around $200 worth. I don't need money right now. I mean, we're going to publish the book on the Ripley Cemetery, and so far it hadn't cost us a penny.
And it's being advertised in the Sentinel every week.
It sure is.
Anybody?
They're doing it for free?
I reckon.
Who is?
At Sentinel, are they doing it for free?
It's in that Sentinel grant.
Sentinel grant.
Yeah, we're gonna sell the books for $10, and up to some price, Donna McMillan will take the money for her, all that she's got involved in it. But I wouldn't mind if you'd help me sell it. I have a friend who bought a $10 book and paid $15 for it. We're $5 ahead right now. If you can do that, go ahead. We think all of the funeral homes, you'll see there's 3 in town in it. I think the monument company ought to have one. City Hall is going to need one for its own use, for the groundkeeper's use. And Tommy wants one put up as a reference book, in plastic pages in a big mailbox. And so we can, and they said, just bring your price to the next alderman's meeting, and so we can sell $50 worth there probably.
We're getting a book we can probably sell, would you
I
have?
think so,
If
I
it's-
think so.
When we do start this project, we're gonna need volunteers.
Don't forget
Well,
that.
y'all keep us updated on that then, about
Yeah.
when y'all need general folks to come help
We
walk and record.
need laptops and folding chairs and people who can operate both of them. And we'll shout numbers back to you, you type them in, that's all we'll, and it'll say like, we'll be working on a section, and put your section number in, and we'll say, this is row 2, and this is plot 1, and here's who's buried.
You'll need that Excel sheet on the cloud too, on the sky, so that everybody can work on the same page.
I was gonna say, I don't know how you gonna do that in Antioch, cause there are no plugins out there.
You don't have Wi-Fi out there either.
Yeah.
I have a regular plug-in in my van, I'll be glad to bring it up there.
One of those too, yeah.
Hey, I'm just looking for a portable typewriter, is all I have. Something to type in.
I got you one of those too, honey. My children asked me what that was the other day.
I never thought about Wi-Fi in that simple.
I don't have Wi-Fi in my truck, but I
I
do
think
have
my
the.
phone is
So
a,
you can use
I think I
Wi-Fi
can turn my
block.
phone into a hotspot.
I have a new phone, I don't know what all it does yet.
We need technological advice, and we'd like to appoint you for that job if you attend to it for us.
Sure, sure. My technical advice is that big. But I can give you what little I got real quick.
I'm just gonna show you how to open and close the chair, and then
Oh,
you guys can
hey.
start typing this stuff. If you've got a quicker way, better way, scientific way, or something
No,
we
if
can
it's
do.
on rollers, it's a lot better, you know. Opening and closing is technology.
I
We
do
don't
have
show
I do have a cemetery book with all the names listed up to 2002, so that will help us a whole lot.
Yeah.
Will help.
Without having to copy all of their names and dates.
Yeah, if you already have that in, then all you gotta do is put their location aside and then arrange it by.
Yes.
She's bragging, she's the only person in the world that's got one.
Well, I sat down since that meeting the other day, I sat down and went from 2000 till 2013 to get all the burials that's been at Antioch since then.
Do
So
they have
I'm
a
up-
book? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
A
I
book?
got excited. Do they have like a book where it's, if, you know, I'm
Cemetery book.
No, they
right,
don't have any,
buried today, I write you down in this book?
no, they don't have, the cemetery committee up there don't keep.
They don't keep a record.
They don't have a record of anything. Because we asked about that at the meeting the other day, and they just go by guessing.
Sure,
Put
they use
them in the ground.
plain old,
Good.
tried and proven Mississippi directions right over yonder. That's what it-
And then a lot of these people wonder where yonder is.
Pat said that, her folks are buried at Krager Cemetery, north of Millington, Tennessee, and they keep their record on a window shade.
Which will.
They just, you might have, not in a window, but on the stand, they just pull the window shade out, and the whole cemetery is laid out on a window shade.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
I like it.
Now, I've got an old map, hand-drawn map on some, just, you know how the stores used to have paper on a roll, big roll. It's on paper like that, of Pine Hill Cemetery. This was made way back. But we could take that someday and bring it up to date, if anybody wanted to. I'm not going to, but still, I've got that if anybody wants to do something with it.
Excuse me, did you say you've already got all the Antioch names and dates? If you could get that to me, I could get that much put in.
Okay.
And then all you've got to add is the plot number.
That's what I thought. You see, all of that.
That's a lot easier to do inside than out.
See why I asked for her help? I mean,
Yeah, we need her. But that would be a big help.
If you've got 6 people, you do that.
I was just checking to see how it's doing.
I'm just a compassionate person. You've got a vice president if you have to leave.
No, I still gotta wait, we're good. Okay, do we have any more announcements or something that I missed or that I was supposed to do and didn't do? Mr.
That's
Governor?
something I'd like to share. It relates to what Dee was talking about. These photographs. I've sat back there by Ken, and the folder happened to flop open, and Ken wanted to know why I had a photograph of the cast of Ironside, Raymondburg. Well, it does have a Tippah County connection. Barbara Anderson was from Memphis. She was my dance partner in a folk dance class at Memphis State, back way back in the dark ages. So I bought this off the internet because of Barbara. And I'm beginning to learn something that I don't know how it may relate to us or not. But in Memphis, there is a company, Historic Photos. And what little I've read, they have a staff of 20 people that said they're scanning photographs every day. And I don't know where they get them. They have a lot of press photographs. And they put this one on sale on eBay. It's from 1919, and it's Paul J. Rainey. I spent good money for that.
Oh, I have, when you're through, don't let me
Okay.
forget.
So I'm going to investigate more of this historic images, because evidently they have acquired photos from newspapers that are not keeping those photos, and they scan them. And then I guess they're available for sale, the originals, because that's how I got these. And I have already, like I say, I've got this little $60 Kodak printer for my computer, and I've scanned that, and makes a wonderful scan. And now you see the editing marks on there. I'm going to remove some of those at least, because my computer has Microsoft photo something.
Photoshop.
That's not on
Photo
Photoshop,
Draw.
but it just came with the
Photo Draw.
Microsoft, and I love it. It works great. You can do all those things with the photo. You can repair them. You can change colors, correct the colors.
What'd you say the name of this company was again?
Yes.
Memphis? Something or
www.historicimages.com.
Historic Images?
Historic Images.
They're not there enough on the word page.
So I think, in there in Memphis,
Historic Images.
Do they produce
I
them or preserve them?
I don't know anything, all I know now is they sell some that I have bought too. I don't know, and they were on eBay. But it did have a little information talking about their staff, and I thought 20 people scanning photos 8 hours a day. They've got a lot of photos.
And there's 20 bored people in this world.
Yeah, that would get old, wouldn't it?
Real quick.
I have a bit of business here. Our secretary, Patricia, would like to have, did I get it right? Okay,
Yes, you got it right.
She'd like to have an ink cartridge.
An ink cartridge?
I did, I don't know whether they did or not.
I don't
but
know,
think
like,
they
how
did
long?
that one.
I didn't know I needed one.
Oh, yeah, well, we're gonna call on you to copy lots of things. You're gonna need one.
Oh, okay.
So you got it.
Tommy has the checkbook, but I think, our other, secretary had an ink cartridge that she
You can
wants
just
to.
pop out that, you want to just,
Kathy?
but I'm gonna try to remove it.
That's right.
And there's Barbara.
Get one and bring us your bill, I'll vote for it.
Okay.
I went on to notarize.
We could do that, we could call a vote for reimbursement, shouldn't we?
Oh, just write her down. I'll write her down. I've got one other thing. One request that we got was from a writer. He writes for an outdoor magazine, and he is looking for hunting photos. He's gonna write an article on Paul Rainey, and he is looking for any of his hunting photos. Now, we've got lots of the house, the estate, but he's wanting like anything he's killed, anything along those lines that he can print in the magazine. And I'm going to see if he will not mention us in his magazine article. So if anybody knows of anything, can think of somewhere for me to get it to send to him. Marcia has said that we should charge him.
Well, those 2 CDs that have all,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of.
Well, if we
mistakes.
get enough photos to send to him, that'll be the only logical way to send it, because, I mean, you
But
can only
just
add
for-
so many
yeah.
attachments to an email.
Yes, but just for a photo or two, I don't, guess you could charge him for
Take payment and publicity.
You have something like that?
that. Right.
It's a lot.
Um,
Yes.
You know, when they had
Could
the
ask
salt
for a
run thing
donation.
here,
Yeah.
there was a lot of, Paul Rainey photos put on the, oh, I can't even think of it, it's the website that Melissa McCoy
Roots
Bell, Roots Web, of Paul Rainey
Oh,
and his animals and the old house.
I sent him two. One of them was just a portrait of Paul Rainey, and one of them was that I had got from Deborah at TCDF of him and his dogs. Those were the only two that I could find that were reprint quality. But he's found several that he found of old newspaper articles, but I don't think he will be able to reprint those in magazine.
Have you looked at the CDs that
I
Deborah's
haven't
got?
gotten the CD. I did get some off of her hard drive
Okay.
that she had given me.
Yeah, there's a couple of CDs just about.
I'll go by there and see if I can get those on weekend.
Would you say the date was on the document or a picture on it, Tim? That could be used?
Report.
It depends on if you have been given permission. If it was never published and never registered as a copyright on their own, it would be authors or people who had died before 44. If it was ever published in the United States, you'd have to check for a publication date, I mean, a copyright notice from where it was published. If it had but anything before 1923 is fair game.
But if it's an image, it's already on the internet.
Just
That's
because it's
not-
on the internet doesn't mean that it's there legally. You have to still make sure, if you don't wanna be the one to end up caught in the legal battle, just because it's out there doesn't mean it's there legally.
Even if it's in a public site.
Right.
I run into this
Now-
on YouTube, copyright issues.
The other exception for that is anything that is done by a government employee is considered, fair use, or considered public domain. So, for example, if there's photographs that, somebody that worked for any of the government agencies took, that's published out there, that's all.
EPA photographs and stuff.
Hank told me if he put it in the newspaper, I could use it. Is that legal?
You'd have to ask a lawyer for sure. I mean, that would be legal enough for me, but
That's what he told me.
unless it's in writing, it's probably not.
I wanted something out of this paper to make a pattern out of it, and I said, what do I have to do? He said, if I put it in the paper, you can use it.
Well, to get off of copyrights of pictures, but copyright of written things, no, we're doing courthouse. All of that should be
Public domain.
Right.
fine.
Right.
Now, if it's been in the newspaper, then that's public,
That's public domain.
yeah.
But if somebody brings us like a personal journal, we need handwritten permission if we wanted to.
I would advise it to protect yourself legally. Especially if it comes up that you're gonna end up making profit off of any of this stuff. You don't want somebody to give you their family history and then find out that you've sold some of it and they're, where's my
I want my
share?
$5.